Okay, the case I have today is Chalk versus the Orange County Schools Department of Education. And this was settled by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in 1988. The facts of the case are that Chalk was a teacher of hearing impaired students, and at some point in time he contracted AIDS, and that became not public knowledge, but the school district found out about it. It doesn't say whether he informed them or it just came out. But as soon as they found out that he had contracted AIDS, then he was reassigned to administration and he was barred from teaching classes. Chalk had an issue with that, and he filed under 504, saying that you can't discriminate against people with disabilities. At that point in time, then the school board, or the Orange County School Department of Education, refused to review his case, so he went on and appealed it, and they also to the district judge, and then it went to the district court of appeals. So what happened is when it was at the district, or when it was at the district court of the district level, the district judge, excuse me, then more than 100 articles and 5 statements by AIDS experts were presented by Mr. Chalk, saying that the AIDS wasn't that big of a deal. Basically, it talked about there's only 3 main methods of transmission, which are sexual contact with an infected person, invasive exposure to contaminated blood, and certain bodily fluids, and through perinatal exposure. So basically, as a classroom teacher within the normal scope of his duties, he did not pose any risk to students or anybody else from contracting this disease. And it mentions an earlier case where even the under 504, that as long as special accommodations are made, reasonable accommodations, excuse me, are made, that they would eliminate the risks. It's not the same thing as putting a teacher in the classroom that has tuberculosis. AIDS is not as transmissible as tuberculosis is. So when it got to the district judge, then the district judge ignored all of the articles and all the statements from the AIDS experts that he had, and rejected, it says, and I want to read this from the book, but it says the district judge ignored these admonitions and rejected the overwhelming consensus of medical opinion and improperly relied on speculation, for which there was no credible support in the record. So I think, if you want my honest opinion, what probably happened here is because in the 80s, like, AIDS was like a big deal and we didn't really understand it, then it kind of created a bunch of fear, and a bunch of people had there was a lot of issues surrounding that, and so the school board moved him to admin. The district judge upheld that, but then when it got to the district court of appeals, then they said, no, there's not really a logical basis for this, because under the normal scope of his employment, he cannot transmit this disease to anybody. So they reversed and remanded the decision, and they reinstated Mr. Chalk to his former duties as a teacher of hearing impaired children in the Orange County Schools Department of Education. So that's the case.